And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Reality Czars podcast, and I'm your only host tonight, Nate. Tony's at work or doing something. I don't know what he's doing. I have Ezra. Dude, I'm super stoked, man. So you go by Renegade Authority? Is that your...
On Instagram, I guess you call that my professional Instagram. I'm from a county in Northern California where there's a type of underground party called Renegade, which is basically called a Renegade, which is basically very heavily emphasizes like leave no trace. And like, so like you'll go out in the middle of like a national forest, throw like a massive party, 400 people, no interfering, and then leave nothing behind, right? You don't leave any trash. It's like you're never there, you know, because we have a history of like kind of protecting our natural heritage in this county. But that culture is starting to catch on to other places, and it's also been a very useful vehicle for, I guess, my goals, trying to just somehow get on top of this shit that's happening without very much resources or aid in doing it, if that makes sense.
That's cool, man. What county are you in? Can you share that?
I'm in Nevada County, California.
Nevada County. Okay, that's interesting. You said that's Northern California?
It's in Northern California. Yeah, and I'm actually happy to share this because, like I said, I'm you know, it's like a lot of people, I guess, are kind of worried about talking about that. Like, oh, they're going to get you like this guy or they got that guy. Like, I actively want to get got at this point. Like, I'm super tired. You know, I have, my mind is like gone enough down this path. Basically, it's like once, like I've talked about this before, but like once there's certain natural mechanisms in the brain that are like have to do with like human survival over the long term. They're like part of our evolutionary psychology, right? And the thing is once you understand enough, just having like creating the will to go through it, take your own life is pretty much not going to happen. It's like impossible because you realize like, because you're in a survival, the more you're in a survival mindset, the harder it is to take a life or your own life, basically. And then having a clear understanding of, I guess, what's coming and seeing that we all need to be in a survival mindset has made that more difficult, you know? So like, it's just like, it's not as much of a worry as people make it out to be every day. You know, most people who are suicidal are just blowing off steam. I wouldn't consider myself suicidal, but I'm also not afraid of an Illuminati bullet, if that makes sense. Like they'd just be doing me a favor. So I don't give a fuck. That's my reality.
Interesting, man. That's an interesting place to be in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm definitely probably a different place. I want to stick around for as long as I can because I got kids.
But, yeah, well, that's what keeps you in the game. I mean, traditionally in like let's say traditionally in the like the system that we're starting to go into is really just like a hyper efficient version of a system that's already existed for a long time, right? But in the past, what happened is there'd always be like this next generation come up. So right when like all the males are starting to get like super warlike and like about to lose their shit, there'd be this next generation of like females, or they'd have families and they'd settle the fuck down because they have their kids to take care of now and they get with the program, you know, because they'd kind of like get more into that like direct provisioning instead of like the more like, I guess the young man's game of like global change and like what's happening on the like macro scale. You know what I mean? When you have kids, it has a way of like focusing your attention, you know, your intent to like just really to the immediate now provision of children. But now, because these systems are so efficient, there is no new generation coming. Like it ain't happening. And the thing is the people at the very top, they live in all this wealth and stuff, and they just figure everything's just ticking along as normal because they live in such an ivory tower that they don't even understand the people who are in charge of everything don't even understand the collapse is coming. They don't even believe in it, right? Like this great reset that everyone's saying the world leaders have planned. In their minds, it's not. In their minds, the whole idea there's going to be a great reset is just a illusion to keep anyone from doing anything. And they think it's going to tick along like this forever. But because of the phenomenon I just mentioned, they're wrong too. You know, that's why I always tell people like these people are fucking idiots because there is a massive population collapse on the way. And I'm just trying to get like my people, my tribe together, you know, to like actually be in some space of self-sufficiency, or at least in the same fucking geographical area before we lose the internet, you know, global travel and all this shit starts petering out, which is going to happen. Like,
so that's fascinating, man. And I agree with you that this is probably the biggest problem that we have coming up is this population decrease. Yeah, this collapse. And I just find it really fascinating how the elite have been, or the elite, I don't even like to call them that, because they're a bunch of fucking losers. But the elitists, the elitists.
I've been calling them the adversary, right?
The adversary is a good word for them.
They really are our enemies. They really are our unconscious enemies. So we can't really call them our enemies. They don't even know they're fucking up, but they are definitely our adversaries.
So you don't think that they are planning a hell of a lot of this? Because I mean, there's definitely some folks at the top that are like, I mean, you don't think that there's anything like with the World Economic Forum, like the Klaus Schwab, any of those intellectuals?
There are more than a few Uncle Toms, right? But they are simply that. They are Uncle Toms, and they are dumb, because the reality situation, when they succeed, if they are to succeed in their goals, they are literally, according to like the age-old doctrine that this invasive fucking culture is attacking us with, and who they are selling us out to, according to that doctrine and the way that doctrine's worked for fucking 100,000 years, the very first fucking people that are gonna get lined up and have bullets put in their head once this all like fucking locks in are Carl Schwab, George Soros. Like they're the ones that die. Like they go like immediately, because they're all operating under this assumption that when the control system rigidifies and they close all the gaps and it locks in, that they're going to be in charge. They're not going to be in fucking charge. And
I don't think that they're in charge now. Yeah. I think that those are the puppets that they like. If you know these people's names, then they're not in charge.
The reason they're going along with it is because they think they're going to be placed in charge. Once they're experiencing all this power and wealth right now. Why wouldn't they think that? But the thing is like, once again, it's just, you have to understand, everyone comes to their specific point in life through a total individual set of circumstances, and the average elite, let's call them, right, is raised in this space of extreme wealth, no needs for safety, security, can go wherever they want, can do whatever they want, totally protected by the station of their family. These people are not looking up shit like Yuri Bezmenov. It like just never crosses their mind, right? So they're actually ignorant that they're signing their own death sentences. These supposed geniuses and world like they are. And the thing is like, at this point, like, I don't know if there's any coming back for them one way or the other, because if their, say, side wins, well, they're definitely going to die. And it's getting increasingly to a point where if those of us who want to survive in a realm of freedom and have our children have a chance of prosperity, like if you want your daughter to not live in a box and just be used as a sexual masturbatory aid for some fucking weirdos, or if you want your son to have any chance of having like a family of his own, like we're getting to a point where these people need to be fucking shot, and I don't see any way around it, and I would like to find a way around it, but I'm not seeing it. And it's not like we got to shoot Carl Schwab. Like, this shit is happening county by county throughout all fucking America. Like right now I'm in California. I can tell you, my county, I've been very, very motivated to be engaged here. And they daily commit perjury. They daily commit treason in full presence of the police. They daily violate the fucking, what do you call them? The Nuremberg Code, like daily. Like every time they go into that board of supervisors meeting, they do that. And yet no one's fucking doing anything to them. And like, and we're also constrained by that tribal thing. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm trying to like get my name out there. I want to surround myself with my own tribe, not so I can get them to do shit for me, just so I can have that, just so I can create my own consensus on a evolutionary psychology level to actually take real action, because right now everyone's frozen by that. I've talked to multiple militias, the police, everyone is frozen by this like tribal consensus or this lack of consensus on like bringing these bad actors down. It's bad.
Yeah, man, it is bad. It's fucking fascinating, dude, because like you have been watching them since like, okay, so this, as far as I can trace it back, a lot of these elitists, I mean, you can go way the fuck back, but I mean, like we can go back as far as like, what was that? Was that I'm gonna fuck it up. I think it was like 1889 or something like that with the Fabian Society.
Yeah.
So the Fabian Society is like the big time where all of these assholes got together and they decided like they liked Karl Marx. They liked this communist idea, but they didn't like the way that the communists and socialists were going about it. They thought they were going about it through like violent uprisings and things like that, trying to have like an immediate revolution. And they said, I think that we're going to do slow infiltration. And so that's why they chose the tortoise as their insignia, right? The slow and steady.
Very possible, very likely. I just do want to point something out, though, which is something that we as humans make mistakes all the time. All right, we have seen just in the last 5 years how massively they can change people's perception of historical events. Like I
agree with you. Yeah. So you can't trust history.
Even like within literally, I think by the time, for example, and I'm not a fan of any political party, right? But I'm a fan of observing political phenomena, right? But by the time Trump was elected, there were already like massive amounts of textbooks in public schools saying he had like direct ties to like a fascist party in America. Like these are history books going to public schools.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what's going to be talked about on January 6th that like Donald Trump led a fucking militia and tried to overturn the government. And that's going to be in history books for our kids. And that's why you don't send your fucking kids to public school.
And it also makes you think about like, even like, let's like, for example, take Hitler so much. I mean, and I'm not, what do you call that? I'm not on the side of the idea of a Holocaust, but I will say we seem to be heading towards a Holocaust right now. And we're in one. I wouldn't say heading towards. I mean, I've been in a Warsaw ghetto in Sac. Go to Florida, Sacramento. There's a fucking ghetto there. It's a Warsaw ghetto, right? It is a place where people go, are poisoned, destabilized, poisoned, and they're released back in the streets. They take stable people, destroy them psychologically with drugs and shit, and put them back on the street. And you can go there. Like, I could take anyone who wants to fucking go there. We can go there. But like, I don't. You can also get shot in that ghetto. But there ain't no fucking cops. If they are, they're getting paid off. But like, yeah, Florida Sac, go check it out, dude. It's Zombieland. There's a 30. There's a wall between Florence Sac ghetto and the next ghetto over. That's a 30-foot high, fucking sheer cinder block wall with concertina wire out on the top. The only way out on foot is fucking up a fucking interstate where you're walking alongside a wall, which is illegal to do. And then you either have to walk on the interstate or you can climb up. That's how I got out. You fucking climb up. There's a bridge with just razor wire on the top. It's like 10 feet of chain link fence. So if you go up to the bridge and climb over the chain link fence, that'll get you into the next ghetto. Like, it'll get you onto Martin Luther King Street, basically. And then you got to fucking hike for another hour through fucking crackhead zombies and people trying to rob you. And then you finally get to Sacramento, where it's fucking normal people with normal jobs, with cell phones and shit, who have no idea this is going on 10 minutes down the road by car, right? Yep. It's a nightmare. It's fucking
100%, man. I mean, it's not... Well, it is different. Like, I'm up in Portland right now, but I'm from Northern California, originally.
Curious. Well, I'm really fucking curious about what's going on in Portland, because from everything I can see from afar, it looks like a fucking nightmare. But once again, media, subversion,
You'd be surprised.
What's the ground?
What's going on in some places, dude? Like, so here's the fucking thing about Portland. It's a small city, but it kind of like, it stretches. You know what I'm saying? And there's like, I don't know, there's like about 2 million people, I think, like in the whole like metro area, like in all the surrounding neighborhoods, it's all considered sort of Portland. Mm-hmm. And so you can have like $1 million fucking house, and it's just like a normal fucking like 3-bedroom house. Like the property is fucking crazy. It's so expensive. If you want to rent a spot, it's like $1,500 for like a little tiny room, basically.
I want to point something out about the whole property being expensive shit. Okay. About 3 months ago, I traveled all over fucking California. I went to San Rafael, San Marin, fucking San Francisco, Monterey, Santa Cruz. I went to a lot of different places with the idea of doing reconnaissance, right? Like just for myself. One, I wanted to test my hypothesis on seeing if there really was this massive segregation of the sexes going on. It's one of the reasons I was going to festivals. I can tell you, yeah, there fucking is. It's not like
interesting.
Like, and no one wants to admit it, but like I literally went to like 5 fucking major cities with a goddamn notepad and stood on corners and just like man, woman, man. I went to festivals, did the same shit, just do head counts, and it's I mean like it's a problem. It's getting to be more of a problem. People need to wake the fuck up, and like it's a problem for all the how do I put this? You asked me before we went online. You were asking me about Tartaria, right? You asked me about this fucking other crazy nation that exists. Okay, so like I told, so I'm gonna repeat the first. I'm gonna tell you what little I've been able to personally view using, like, you know, from like live leaks and stuff. I'd be able to view two things which like looked legit. I believe that is real footage from within the country. A couple of them I've observed multiple times, and a few things which it's hard to tell if it's really from inside, but it could very well possibly be something like that, right? And like one of the things I've seen is, once again, there's a woman, she's behind like this much glass, like big thick glass. A man comes into this room where she's working. She's a Chinese woman, she's a Chinese man. Sees she's a woman, and because there is so little female male interaction in the physical sense in this place, immediately loses his shit just on sight and starts trying to break through the fucking what do you call it? The glass just immediately. He walks in, sees it's a woman, fucking apes out. Like within 0.5 seconds, right?
Was his plan to have her? Like what was?
That's absolutely what it is. Like that's. I mean, the reality situation, okay, is that like sexuality is one of the strongest driving forces of the human species, right? And
of
like
all animals, of life
in general.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the primary mechanism. Like this abuse of human sexuality is the primary mechanism by which most of the what we would term evil, but where most of the crippling of our ability to flourish is happening, is by the manipulation of these instincts, right? And yes, that's he was just trying to rape her. Of course, he was trying to rape her. He probably has never seen a woman in his life, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like it was like he's not socialized with women. He walked in, saw this thing which he has wired over millions of years, evolutionary, to desire, and it just fucking whoop, there he goes, right? You know, and like that's
do you think that creates situations in their living area where, you know, wherever they live? Do you think that they live like men do in prison, where there's a lot of like homosexual activity?
Yes, I mean that's well known. But like you know, you also see the same thing in Afghanistan. They have a lot of the same problems. But like the ones who really live in prison in reality are the females. Like the men pretty much have the run of the country, but they have also the hard labor jobs. Like they're all working in mines, right? Their ability to interface with women is all through a digital medium, right? And it's like really insidious because like one of the main places that you can like find this is if you find the like cam girls from over there. It's a whole different situation. It's not like the American cam girl, oh queen, you know, like these women have lived in these boxes probably for generations now. And like they don't know any other way of life, and it's clear in the way they communicate, speak, from their surroundings. You know, I've been in communication with a woman desperately trying to escape, that has no clue how to, you know, like I've been like stay strong, you know, and then over time, you know, the fucking feed got cut, whatever, she disappeared, probably didn't make it, who fucking knows, you know. But I've been in communication with a woman in that situation in that fucking country over there, and it's fucking heartbreaking, you know. Like they have to communicate through fucking, like it's fucked, bro.
Is this a country that we recognize the name of now? Like
I don't know. I doubt it. Honestly, I fucking doubt it, bro. I honestly doubt it. I think most people are just fucking sleeping on this shit. I think 99.99999% of the fucking population are sheep. I think a lot of bullshit like it's like this is something that I have spent I've spent like the last 5 years cutting out every piece of knowledge that isn't lived experience. Everything I read in a fucking book that I couldn't directly verify, every piece of history, every fucking statistic that I haven't fucking run, every test that I haven't fucking done, I've basically cut out of my knowledge base at this point, right? And I feel like I have a very clear picture about what the fuck is going on, and I'm terrified. I mean, yeah, I'm terrified. We're gonna go fucking extinct. Like it's like there's a population collapse, likes of the humanity has never seen coming, because it's not a regional collapse, it's a global collapse, right? The majority female populations of the world within the next 10 years will be in food deserts, whether it's a fucking city in Dubai, a fucking island somewhere, where they're totally dependent on a global infrastructure for food and to continue to live that we're not going to have control over,
So Ezra, I'm curious why. So I go back to motivations, right? So
Yeah.
you think that these people are actually they did this on accident and they're stupid?
I'm pretty sure they did on accident. They're stupid. It might be. I mean, if you go to like this, remember at the Heartland over there in Asia, they're way more technologically advanced, and we don't know what it's like inside their culture, other than these little glimpses, some of the snippets I just talked about, right? Like some things that we can assume are happening based on similar things is we can assume that when they have problems in that country with any particular group, they move a group of military people in who have been given testosterone, selective breeding over multiple generations, and these people are just order followers. They'll kill anybody for any reason and are not very smart. They're pretty fucking dumb in reality, and they probably just send them in there and they fucking murder them. That might be starting to go over to technology now. We look at the case of Christopher Dorner. We got airstrikes happening on native soil. Like it's like, and this is not new. I mean, like I was telling other guys, like we're getting to a point where the military come in and murder a town, and they'd get away with it, right? Well, it's not like this is new. 20 years ago, they were coming into areas and just murdering fucking whole groups of people, like families and their fucking next of kin and all their neighbors, and getting away with it. Look at fucking Ruby Ridge. Look at fucking Waco. People say those are cults, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I saw those interviews with those people. I come from
Ruby Ridge was definitely not a cult, man. That was just a fucking family. That was tragic.
Yeah, that's right. But that was just it was a test. Will the people actually rise up? And they did not, because we have this consensus of being peaceful and loving our enemies. But anyone who fucking has any inkling of idea of how fucking psychological operations and psychological warfare works know that the only people that tell you to love your fucking enemies are your fucking enemies. They're the only ones who say that, and it's a frustrating thing. And people need to wake up. Wake up, people. I'm tired.
So so we're going to talk, I guess we can refer to it as Tartaria, right? So that we can just keep discussing whatever the hell this is. We don't have a name for it. What do you want? What do you want to call it? Planet X.
Yeah, it's that's something we almost have to figure out. Like we can say like we have to be careful right now because of the miasma of misinformation and stuff. So like we have to be careful about using words.
Yeah, I mean, because Tartaria is going to be connected to a million other ideas what people have in their head. So now, let's call it Planet X right now. So Planet X.
Planet X is old too. That was fucking hearing about Planet X back in the 90s, right? Look, the only thing we can call it, right, is it's almost gotta be like Voldemort, where we have to point.
Okay.
Yeah, let's call it Voldemort. Yeah, but
Voldemort works.
Yeah, but we have to point at all of the conditions that are happening as a result of its influence. And then
that's what I was going to ask, is what your idea that this Voldemort, are they the actual seat of authority for this world? Or are they just powerful in their region and they affect things? In your opinion.
You mean for our whole world, for like the entire human populace? Mm-hmm. I would say no, but increasingly so. Right? Okay. Like not yet. But in their heartland, it's like lockdown. Like, cause and they're trying to make the rest of the world like that. And if they're successful in the next 10 years of collapsing the majority of the female population into these like deserts, right? Then it's just a matter of cutting off supply through digital means, especially if it's all being operated through computers and stuff, to these places like Saudi Arabia, Jared Leto's island, shit like that. And then
Jared Leto's island, good God.
and then all those women die, right? And then now you have a physical population imbalance, which is impossible to recover from. And that's what the goal is, right? Like it's all fun and games, and you're a queen. Let's just all do whatever you want on Instagram and fly wherever you want. It doesn't matter if this dude in Saudi Arabia have fucking Saudi princes got 10,000 wives each. No problem, man. What a pimp. We should respect them. Except what everyone is fucking missing is once enough of a fucking separation has happened, right? They're going to kill all those fucking people. That's the goal. That's the plan.
I mean, this is sort of interesting what you were talking about,
Well,
how,
they did
because
their own
I
culture.
listened to an interview that you had before, and you were talking about the right ratio of men to women. And there was this, it's, who he got a hell of a lot of shit for this, but Jordan Peterson was talking about how there's these like high, what the fuck does he call them? They're alpha males basically, and how like they will get the like 80% of women. They'll get
Okay.
the majority of
This,
women, and
so
then there's all these like
right.
disenfranchised
So
males.
so
And
so what he's pointing. So this whole alpha male shit needs to stop because right, it's like this. It's very fucking simple. The reason that's been happening is because the people who have put this system in place have been around pretty much since fucking civilization's been around. Okay, so they just go through ups and downs, right? They're kind of in control. They're kind of in control. They get to a point where they fucked up too much, and then there's a little drop, but they pilfer away enough technology, so they're a little bit on top, and they get a little bit higher, and there's another, and that's what we're going through, right? It's like going up and then down a little bit, and up and then down a little bit, and they're doing that, right? Now this thing where let's say, what do you call it? Where like when you're talking about men and women, right? When a man is sexual with a woman, the portion of his brain having to do with that sex becomes developed. So the first men to basically have to achieve sexual gratification or sexual bonding in any social group are instantly get more access to more women if they're allowed to just have sex with whatever they want. If rape is not a thing, if rape doesn't exist as a cultural concept, right? If there is no taking a woman against her will, the first man to have sex is going to have a lot more sex because he's just more likely to be driven by that, if that makes sense, right? Now, in our pre-civil roots, this would genuinely not happen because if they started to do that, then they would one, they didn't have the time to do that because one was a fucking enough to take care of because we're like we're like cats out in the fucking middle of the woods. Like we can't worry about fucking a lot of chicks, right? Like it's not how we roll. And like people will point at like monkeys, bonobos, and chimps and all these other things. Like, well, look at them. It's like I'm not a chimpanzee, right? I'm a type of primate, yes, but I'm not a chimpanzee. And chimpanzees aren't like bonobos, right? And orangutans aren't like fucking spider monkeys.
you know what they put ahead of their desire for sex is they make sure they have shelter, they make sure they have food,
Exactly.
like they have to balance it.
Exactly. What it was in the pre-civil time is all of your energy went into the creation of food and shelter. And if you got good enough of that, where you had extra, well, females would come around and be like, oh, he's got extra. So when I get pregnant and I can't take care of myself, he'll be able to take care of me. And then they would have a little family unit, right? And the thing is if another male came into that situation, he'd just get fucking hit in the head of the rock because it's like, I've already spent all this energy. But we have, as a society, made it taboo to stop this from happening, to stop men from coming in and ruining relationships and raping women. Like we made it taboo. Like the feminists have a point too. Like women in general right now in society are experiencing wholesale rape at a amount that I don't think has ever existed before in human history. But where the problem comes in is they're encouraging it, right? Like this whole cult of empowerment and da 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 da. All it does is isolate women for predators. Like that's all it's designed to do, and the predators are the world elite, right? They're the ones who create the whole system.
It also takes them out of their natural habitat is not the word I'm looking for, but their natural desires of like to be with one man in a structured relationship and have children. And that's a safe place for women. And so you're taking them out of that and you're saying, hey, go and have all this promiscuous sex and go and be with all these different men. And you're going to get hurt that way because there are bad men.
Of course you're going to get hurt. And then also that you combine the whole like rape culture thing, right? It's even worse than that. Like it's always more insidious than people realize, right? Because of the whole mythos that the fear mongering that women live under now, right? Where like every man's a rapist, right? When any man tries to be intimate with a woman, she's likely to reject him. Any man, right? which means most of their first sexual experiences and second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh now are only going to be with rapists. They're only going to be with men that don't actually care about them because their own fear has conditioned them to reject all men. And then what happens is one finally comes along and rapes them, and then they pair bond, and then and now it's all fucked, But that and there's a class of males in our society that understand this is true and abuse it daily.
So I don't know if you ever listened to the philosopher Stefan Molyneux.
I know, I'm familiar with his work.
Okay, so I was just thinking about his whole hypothesis with the alpha male thing is just how the state, by encouraging welfare, kind of had women.
That has part of it too. All right, remember the alpha male mindset is not an alpha male mindset. It's just
something he has genetic features. He's tall, he's strong. And so physically a woman would find him attractive and would go after this guy. But let's say that he kind of has a bad character. He's not very fucking smart. He's not going to be a good provider. And maybe some other guy, he's a little frumpy. Yeah. He's not as handsome, but he's fucking brilliant. He's going to be a great provider. He's going to have a nice home. He's going to be a good provider. She's going to go, the welfare state gives her the opportunity to make the stupid choice and go get dicked down by, by a big.
That's correct. Okay, and once again, this is why guns are important, right? Guns are what, modern warfare technology is really one of the things that we have to look forward to as humans to even this all out in terms of small arms, right? The thing is, in a world without firearms, right? The big dudes, because you have to understand. Behind all of this shit that we're going through is programs designed to create certain types of people for certain types of roles. Okay, you want bigger, stronger people that are not as intelligent, right? Because they're more fit for mines. They're more fit as trigger pullers. They're more fit because they, and then you want women, and then women because they naturally are going to gravitate towards, men they can look up to literally because of being children. We feel safe and secure when we're with our dad and we're looking up. Well, that means the time you feel most safe and secure is when with your father holding his hand looking up. So if you're with a man and you're looking up at him and he's not your father, well, women find safety and security sexually arousing, so it's it's basic shit, But the thing is these same males also will rely on intimidation. Right. But a funny thing is a lot of the tallest, I'm an MMA, they're actually some of the least violent people because they're so they're so ill acquainted with it. The most they've experienced violence at their highest level and their most violent. Generally, we're talking dudes over 6 feet in this society. It's a fucking joke. On average, no matter how much shit they talk, in reality, the most experienced violence have ever experienced is a little friendly sparring with their friends. They've never been across a table from someone who just actively wants to fucking kill them, right? They've never experienced that, and even Andrew Tate, who's this big character who's popped on social media. He's got interviews where he says if shit gets violent, he's like I don't fuck with it, And it's
what's your opinion on Andrew Tate? He's been hot and in the news lately. He seems from just my outward opinion, I don't know enough about him. He seems like a piece of shit.
I would say he is absolutely controlled opposition, 100%.
They make him seem like he's likable to the right wing, red-pilled guys, and he's a manly man.
I'm gonna tell you what he is.
Yeah,
he was created. He's a celebrity. We have to remember is all celebrities are created.
Actors, yeah, yep.
They're all created. Okay, doesn't matter if they are YouTube. You're not all, but the majority. YouTube is kind of even the field, right? But for instance, you have this kid Sneeko. Sneeko's not controlled opposition; he's real opposition. But now Andrew Tate comes along, starts informing this dude's opinions, and now he's been sidetracked with the same thing, right? Sneeko used to be all about just the truth of people's interactions, but now he's miming this red pill philosophy of get your money right, do this, right? Anyone who is telling you as a man that the key to your success and happiness is to get more money is someone who is benefiting off your slavery. Because the only real key to true freedom is to become independent for the need for money. That's the only way, right? become totally independent for the need for money, right? Because the only thing money is like an IOU for your labor. Well, you don't like if your labor isn't going into your personal flourishing, what the fuck are you spending it on? Someone else's flourishing, right? So it's almost like it's almost a system to extract your time and energy from you, just to prevent you from ever getting out of the desperation mindset, right? There's not a problem that you have as a human being that is going to be solved by going after more money. If you either already have infinite money or you're a sucker. Like, that's it, right? Like I know a dude in my town. He makes 6 figures. He's got good sexual opportunity, relative to most men. But for every 2 days that he gets to live like a king, he works 5 days of hard, fucking back-breaking, life-threatening fucking danger, cutting down massive trees, getting his fucking arm fucked up, and that, so much so that he has to pretty much constantly drug himself up when he's not at work, just to not be experiencing, total pain 100% of the time. And he thinks he's and he'll come to me and tell me, oh, and we have this hard relationship. He's my friend, but he's always looking down at me, and he thinks that he's some player because he's traded his life and his well-being and his health for the ability to fuck 5 or 6 different chicks who at this point have had so many sexual experiences. They really don't care about him, and they themselves are operating a desperation mindset, trying to get him to be interested enough in them that he'll take them on as a wife. But his wealth is so temporary because it comes totally from his day-to-day labor that the second he dies, all that shit disintegrates, and all these women who have been boosting him up, basically, are going to have nothing, and that's what the system's designed to do, and so you have Andrew Tate here with all this fucking wealth. I got all this stuff coming out of nowhere, dude. That dude either comes from wealth or could be straight from the heartland, because we don't know what it's like there. I mean, look at him and his brother. How do we know they're not fucking clones? I'm not saying that's the case, and that sounds ridiculous to people, but you have to understand, they were cloning sheep in America in 1995, okay? In 1995, we didn't have fucking cell phones, all right? And they were cloning animals. It's now...
And that's just what we know about.
And that's just what we know. And that knows what we talk about since then. And on top of that, we have a fucking country, which for fucking at least the last 200 years, since the Soviet Union, so not 200 years, 100 years, has maintained the total segregation of men and women with a physical population imbalance thrown in the mix to make sure it can never be recovered from in their homeland, to drive males in a desperation mindset from their ancient primal brain into increased industrialization and increased innovation. So they are ahead of the fucking technology curve, right? And so those dudes could be straight fucking generals from fucking Voldemort's fucking army, and coming over here to oh, well, it's getting out of control, guys. Let's send them in there to really settle shit up, And now everyone's signing on to their programs. Let me tell you exactly where I fucking live, dude, who came out of nowhere, that took over all of social media, that is pushing an idea that is saying some right shit, but whose solutions are to thrust the men who follow you right back into fucking slavery. Let me just sign up to your program and tell you where I live and invest all my time and energy in you. Let me pay $50 a fucking week of my fucking labor to just you see what I'm saying? It's the same fucking system. So I don't think he's to be fucking trusted one fucking bit, And I think he came in. I think he was someone who has been chosen specifically to derail the conscious revolution that is happening in the United States. Because if the United States wakes up, they're fucked. They're fucked, because we can export small arms through person-to-person communication to the entire rest of the fucking globe in almost no time flat if we resurrect the banana belt, And if you don't know what the banana belt is right now we have country A and country B, right? And you have these massive freighters going back and forth across the oceans, right, to all the different continents, right? Well, the continents were, once Pangea, for lack of a better term, and if we just had tons of small fishing vessels, 14-footers, tiny ships, but just tons of them, a very widespread ocean-side living people, we could have infinite mailing to pretty much any fucking coast in the world, homie to homie through Discord, hey, just give this to your buddy. He's gonna give it to his buddy who he's vetted, and just fucking pass it on down the line, guys. Guns, food, you could literally achieve instant access to global resources hand to hand, like passing like notes for the whole fucking world at this point very easily. You know, there's no reason for these freighters. It's just by having that keeps us out of control of the resources. And as that becomes more and more rigid, like I said, once enough of the female population is segregated out into these deserts, they're going to all be killed. And then we are permanently fucked as a globe. It will take us billions of years to recover from that.
Can you tell me why they're going to do that? So you're saying that they're going to segregate women and then they're going to kill them?
Yeah, because like the reason, it's the same reason they did in their own fucking country, right? Men who have no access to men who are experiencing infection scarcity, there's certain mechanical triggers that happen in your fucking brain. One of those triggers is to make you more apathetic, one triggers to make you more homely. Like there's a bunch of shit that's happening, right? But the reason that they do that, right, is because that becomes the ultimate, the chance to experience female companionship becomes the ultimate carrot on the stick. And if you can reduce the female population to an extent where you can maintain total control over that carrot, there is no hope for the masculine populace. It's really hard to keep random dudes from fucking up your eugenics program when there's tons of women out there in the wild. It's difficult. But if every woman alive is living in a fucking box in a gated community, and there's only like one woman for every 10 men, which is what is in China, it's a lot fucking easier to control the male population. Like it's really that easy. You know, that's all it's about. If you read Gulag Archipelago is by this dude Andrew Solzhenitsyn. He talks about like Gulag Archipelago is a book people should be familiarizing themselves with and asking themselves, do I want my children to live in this society? Right? Because that's just the precursor to the end game too. That's not even how like people look at communism and are like, oh, it's so horrible and da. That's like communism is like fucking a Eden-like utopia compared to the next step down the line, right? Like, and I don't even like saying communism, but it's this social collectivist like shit that has caused thousands of people to die over multiple generations in just the past fucking 100 years, millions of people to die. This is an Eden-like utopia compared to the fucking technocratic dystopia right behind it. You know, like it is that bad. You know, and I am alone. I am isolated. Everyone I talk to, whether it's militia, active duty military, police, are either incapable of having the fucking conversation, accuse me of being a drug addict. Like I'm fucking sober right now, right? Like the most I imbibe in is I occasionally, like once a month, will hit a joint with somebody to be polite at this point, right? I maybe have like a beer a month. And I can't get these motherfuckers to drug test me. And I've been told that if they do drug test me and I don't have drugs in my system, they have to put me in mental institution, right? Like, oh, well, you're either a drug addict or you're crazy. Even though if someone were just to come and walk around with me for 2 months in my life, I could just point at shit and be like, see, you can see that I'm correct, you know? And like, I'm, like I said, if the Illuminati could shoot me soon, that'd be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome.
Have you considered writing a book, Ezra?
No point. Like one. Yeah.
A lot of times with something like that, that will live on a hell of a lot longer than you will, you know, and a lot of times people like aren't even recognized while they're alive until, you know what I'm saying?
What I'm trying to point out is
the
system is advanced far enough that it is unlikely any human literature will survive this one. Like unlikely, very, very unlikely. You thought burning Alexandria was bad. It's very unlikely. The majority of human advancement now has been collapsed on the digital realm, which is gonna go when this shit goes. That's going, you know, and there is really no point, like, because once again, the system is far enough along that if in this ever shrinking window, if we as a species do not come together and just stop these behaviors, and I do mean physically, i.e. the mass exportation of women into food deserts, i.e. the mass reliance on global corporations and large scale shipping. The belief that these codified regulations and laws are somehow for our benefit and should not be all, like, pretty much all paper at this point should be ignored. Whether it's a law, a regulation, a dollar bill should be torn up and treated as if it is dirt. Like, and that will start to get us out of it, right? But like I said, there's no point, bro. Like I mean, I'm not being a pessimist. I am the biggest fucking optimist you meet. Like, how many fucking people you know who left the mountains fully convinced of their ability to actually start a revolution, right? And I still am convinced of my ability to do that. Like that's one of the main reasons I'm out here. You know, like, is I'm trying to fucking save everybody. You know, because like it really is. It's don't look up shit. Like we're done as a species. In the next by the time I'm dead, we're done. Like, I'm not having any fucking kids right now. Like, you know, and there's a lot more dudes like me than there's like you. You know, I'm not doing it for multiple reasons. It's not just to do with access, although that's a major reason. It also has to do with the fact that because of the fact I'm a vet and I have a wider knowledge of it, I now have massive amounts of apathy on the emotional level being pumped into my system. You know, I'm just becoming more apathetic and warlike, and it's not. I'm conscious enough where I can observe the changes in myself and let them pass through me, right? But my scarcity needs are starting to outstrip my affection needs, right? Like, and I'm just one of like hundreds of thousands of men at this point, you know, because once the apathy reaches a certain point, people stop just participating in society. That's why everything about the economy driving up, like, oh, why is gas prices so high? Why is money so high? All this bullshit that is political. It's not. It's ancient mechanisms just doing their thing, right? Men are becoming more apathetic wholesale, and it's happening. And there's no amount of propaganda that's going to stop it, even though that's what they're trying to stop it with, because the systems they put in place to segregate the female and male population are being so successful that the natural mechanism is just getting stronger and stronger, you know. And that's why it's only a matter of time, you know. It's you know, like if there is a full collapse, the one thing we got going for us is there's also a trigger for us all start working together again once shit's collapsed, right? But like, if it all collapses and the majority of the female populations are on food deserts and we don't know where the fuck they're at, they're all just gonna die, and then we're in a permanent situation of sexual imbalance that will literally take billions of years to overcome, right? Like, because one dude and 100 women can repopulate the fucking earth and get us back into our natural scheme, right? Pretty short space. All right. Fucking 1,000 dudes and one woman are not capable of doing the same fucking thing. All right. That's a fucking genocide.
Yeah. Ezra, so do you believe the numbers they give us for the populations that we have on?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you think that we have less than we do, or do you think we have more than we do?
I don't know how much we have, but I can tell you this. In this town where I'm living, there are more people here than ever in the past 10 years, right? Okay? When I was a kid, there's about, I would say, 25,000 people living in this town. By the time I was 18, it's maybe like 40, okay? When I went to school, there were about 2,000 kids in the high school, right? Now I have 100,000 people living in this town.
And that sounds like my hometown.
And 600 kids going to high school. So we have nearly quadrupled our population natively, and yet the amount of children going to our school has been cut in half. And this system is reliant on the next generation of children, right, to, I guess, pacify enough of the male populace to prevent total collapse. But that is no longer happening because the system has become too efficient, right? And one of the big problems, you have a lot of old dudes who've seen the cycle, you know, and they're just telling all the young men, like, don't worry, man. And they're thinking in their back of their heads, if only they were as wise as me, ha, ha, ha. What they don't know is that in like 3-4 years, there's going to be 22-year-olds ever, and they're just going to have all those great things that we had. And if only they'll just wait, all right? But these old people are dumb as fuck because they don't know what Instagram is. And they'll come to you and they'll comment on fucking politics or life, and they'll try and give you advice. And they don't know what Instagram is. All right, someone who doesn't understand how Instagram and social media fucking dating, right, has affected the tapestry of the fucking global human race, isn't to be fucking respected as an elder. They're to be fucking slapped and given a bottle. Shut up, old man. Have some whiskey. Sit in the fucking corner. You fucked this up for everybody. You know, like stop following fucking old people around. That would help too. But unfortunately, we've got deep biological impulses that's incredibly hard to overcome. When we see an old person, we're like, you're an elder. You have wisdom for us. They don't got shit. They have no wisdom. They have no ability to help us. They are fucking doddering fools for the most part. They're totally reliant on us and this system to just continue to survive. You know, it's a fucking problem.
That's fascinating, man. I do actually. I like to have those conversations with those old folks. I do think they actually have quite a bit of wisdom.
They got wisdom, but not right now. They don't. Right now, we have bigger fucking problems. I can't be hearing about your fucking women's advice with you when you, old man who lived in this fucking town, weren't in the same fucking dating pool as a prince from fucking Saudi Arabia because of a program, the fact that they can buy him a ticket from anywhere in the fucking world. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? The only way to overcome this is for regular men to start raping women wholesale, which I'm sure nobody fucking wants, right? Or fucking I don't know, bro. Like, we're in a fucking, this is in-game shit, man. Like, and I don't want to talk about Bigfoot or the Kundalini Giants or fucking the fact Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate. I'm going to just talk about, like, look at what's happening around you, people. Go out in the fucking street. Sit on a fucking street corner. Count the number of men you see, the amount of women you see. Count the number of fucking children you see. Remember when you were a fucking kid and you run around with all your homies? You see that happening anywhere? Right? And it's not that they're being kidnapped and child trafficked, but that's fucking happening too. But it's just that in most 99% of the cases, they're just not being fucking born. They're being fucking aborted, or their parents are not able to hold down a relationship. It's just there's no children being born, right? The whole housing market is a fucking farce. I've been in Sacramento.
Ezra, have you thought about moving to a different area? I'll tell you what, dude. When you go to,
I've been a lot of places. I was in the Navy for 6
years.
There's
lots of kids here. I'm happily married, having kids.
I've been to multiple other countries. I've been to other places in the United States. I have been to places in California where this is not the fucking case, where what I'm talking about is not the case. It's like 1 out of every fucking 20 instances. And California is the primary beachhead for all of this shit. Right? It's a beachhead.
On a macro level, I agree with you that there's a huge population decline, and we are pretty fucked because there's not enough people to keep the system going, which sometimes that makes me hopeful because I don't like this fucking system and I want to see it crash and burn. But what is going to come out of that is going to be worse.
Well, it depends. No, well, if it crashes, it'll be better. If it doesn't crash, it'll be worse. That's how it works. And right now, it's not looking like it's going to crash. And like right now, like there's an opportunity for it too, and I'm trying to get people to help me make it crash. But right now, it's not looking like it's going to crash. It looks like ultimately they're going to succeed. It looks like ultimately men and women are going to be separated into their individual gulags because it's been successful in their own country, and the entirety of the fucking resources of the world will be strip mined for shit that nobody needs by mechanical automated industrialization, and then that'll be that. You know, like then the environment will be destroyed to an extent where there's no coming back, and will just be a barren rock, and it's over, right? And the idea that that's not the case, that's just you're wrong. I don't want to tell you. Like, go look around. Like you're an example of the little world, not me, because I've been all over the fucking place in just the past year, right? Traveling on foot, in party buses, by fucking truck, any way I can get around and just see as much as I can from going from point A to B. Not getting on a plane and going from one ivory tower to another ivory tower, which is what the elites are doing, but actually really seeing what is on the ground level. And I am telling people, like, you have almost everyone is locked into their fucking houses. Like, everyone's a fucking pod person. I mean, their ideological houses, right? Like people are not up on game. Like, even GPS, like, used to be you're driving around, you had to stop, ask questions, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you'll meet some random people, blah, 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 right? Now, like, it's fucking hard hitchhiking. Unless you're hitchhiking from a truck stop, you're not hitchhiking anymore. Because people are they just got their fucking audio book on, telling them whatever bullshit lets them not worry about how reality really is and listen to GPS. They don't even see anyone outside that, right? So they're not picking you up, you know? Like it's we are locking down at an incredible pace. It is not getting better. It is only going to get worse. And within our lifetime, it's going to get as worse as it can be, right? And if you have kids, I don't have kids and I'm concerned about it. But if you have fucking kids, I'm trying to get through to you, people who are out on the internet, right? You need to wake the fuck up. You need to go to school and pull your kids out of fucking school. If you had any moral and ethical courage in you, you would sit down seriously with the rest of your fucking community and tribe about putting those fucking teachers in holes. It is that bad.
See, now I get what you're saying, and I see the bigger issues. We're on the same page as far as like this world is coming to a fucking crazy tyrannical takeover, and for the most part, the populations are going to decline. What are your thoughts on something like this? Because I go back to something called agorism, as far as like you're saying, like we need to pick up arms, we need to be putting people in holes. And,
no, I
don't
want to do that. I'm not saying we need to do that. I'm not saying we should do that.
Yeah.
I'm saying for fucking
that
10
might
years,
be the only solution.
for 10 fucking years, I've been trying to tell you motherfuckers to wake up, whatever way I can. I don't mean you, but just people in general.
Yeah.
For 10 fucking years. And 10 years ago, we wouldn't need to put people in fucking holes. But today, you might not have another fucking way of doing it because they have just been reinforcing their own code on a physiological level for so fucking long that it might be impossible to break that fucking circuit. And they will continue to fucking push this divisive shit and turn your children into these victims to be preyed upon and become grist for the mill of this fucking machine of human misery. And now, because you guys fucked up and wouldn't listen 10 years ago, now you might have to shoot some people. And I was like, well, I don't want to shoot any people. Well, why didn't you fucking listen 10 years ago? Because it's going to get to a point, like it's all, like there's already places in the country where when someone, like there's already people alive in this fucking country that when they want a new house, they just go into a fucking community, find an isolated person with nice shit, kill them and move in and nobody notices. That is already fucking happening. All right. So wake the fuck up.
Yeah, man. That's some crazy shit. I don't know. So as far as solutions go, I mean, I would be encouraging people to fuck like crazy and have babies. Like, I think that these younger generations need to be having these babies. I think it's an unfortunate thing with this.
Who are they going to fuck? Short of rape, how are they going to get any sexual opportunity? Unless you're telling men to rape women, that shit ain't happening. Okay? Because women.
I know lots of young people getting married right now, man.
In your little ivory tower.
This isn't an ivory tower.
Where are you at? Where are you at, bro?
I'm in northern Oregon. I'm near Portland, but to the west.
Okay, you're in Portland, Oregon. When is the last time you have left your house and just walked for 2 hours in a direction?
Last week.
Last week, 2 hours. Where'd you go?
Yeah, we went through Portland and went through Portland basically. Yeah.
Okay. Did you
see a lot of homeless people, a lot of crazy fucking shit, actually. It's pretty gross.
Would you say you see more or
Portland's
less,
gross.
Would you say you see more or less people than you did 10 years ago? Fucked up.
I moved to a bigger area, so I see more people.
Would you say per capita you see more or less fucked up people on the street?
A lot more fucked up people on the street.
Per capita, right? And I can tell you, you're not exaggerating because I went to Sacramento a year ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago, 4 months ago. Same place, same ghetto. And I can tell you it is rising at an exponential rate because the systems that are creating these people also are tied into the efficiency of social media and social networking through a digital sphere by a, let's say, hostile ideology. Okay, those same phenomena that are causing this exponential increase in homelessness are causing an exponential increase in the inability for the average male to have children or fuck or do any of the things you suggested, right? Like, how old are you? 38?
No, 34 in a couple days.
What I'm trying to point out to you, the life you had, the sexual opportunity, even if it was very small, that you had when you were 22 for whatever reason, maybe you were a nerd, maybe you had a lot, maybe you had a little, doesn't matter. But whatever you had, whatever sexual opportunity you had as a 22-year-old, right? the 22-year-old males today, even the ones who would be considered, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? Traditionally handsome, like over 6 feet tall dude, but he's 22. He's not getting any fucking play, right? He's probably a virgin. He's probably a virgin until he gets out of college. 1-4 men leaving college, 24 right now, is a virgin. The average.
All right. I mean, you might call that an ivory tower, but literally, I have teenagers. I don't want to talk too much. They're all active in that way.
I'm sure they're very sexualized.
Yeah, unfortunately.
In terms of they're just fucking like crazy because they're totally exposed to porn stuff, which is sick. If you think about it, I mean, this is this is not something we as a species should be encouraging unless we, as the familial unit, plan on taking care of the kid, right? We should definitely put on the children, right? But what I'm pointing out is that's only for now, when they're teenagers, and they're probably taking birth control, a million things to not have children, and if they're having children, they're probably getting aborted, right? And long term, though, when you're talking about population replacement, right? Once these teenagers hit a certain age, right? Especially the females, because women are just figuring it out right now, right? They only have the men around them, but once they have the ability to travel, it's done. They're moved from the dating market, more or less, for the average man, like short of, once again, sexual coercion, which is not something I'm trying to encourage, right? But like these are just the facts, right? There will be a few exceptions, right? Obviously, there'll be someone who stay in their hometown, some move around, but increasingly there are less and less exceptions, right? Now, let's say I just wanted to, if you want to just go get laid or some shit like that, go to fucking Miami, right? The female ratios in places like LA, Miami, Dubai, Jared Leto's island, they're crazy, right? But Miami and Florida, they're only like that because they're funnels to remove the females from the rest of society to create the imbalance. Like they're not like that because of these like great places for women to be. They're like that because they're using women, they're collapsing women to enclaves to create the separation, to keep all the men out in the like fucking field jobs doing their fucking job, right? Trying to get enough money to impress a potential mate who is mature enough to understand that has matured enough psychologically to understand how resources and provisioning is something they select for, right? But now the scale is so tipped, like it ain't happening, bro. Like you look at these interviews, these street interviews, dudes like It's Complicated and Sneaker are doing, right? The average woman in the 22 to 24-year-olds bracket, right now, looks at any dude not making like more than 6 figures as like a fucking homeless person, right? So short of sexual coercion, if you're not making 6 figures in this society, in this reality with Instagram and all that things, it's like, it's not happening. The only way you get around it is like status. Like I've been lucky, I have a lot of opportunity I turn down because it's like hard for me to want to pursue a family right now. And like, especially when I see all these mechanisms of what's going around, but like I run like festivals, I do shows, like I get sexual opportunity, but I turn down far more than I take up because one, there's nothing there, like I don't actually represent any long-term prevention because I'm like on a, collision course with probably one of the worst forces in the world. So I'm like don't put your car, like I'm the wrong one, even if you think I'm traditionally handsome or if I was making money or stuff, it's just like I'm the wrong one. I'd be dead tomorrow, so I'm not a secure bet, you know what I mean? But like I could be very easily, but it's not worth it. It's just, and more men are getting to that,
Ezra, what is their goal? So we're talking about the elitists, or we can call them the adversary, whatever we want to call them at this point.
I don't know.
So you're saying that they're separating the men and the women, and they're doing this to make men more like. You were saying that it makes them.
It drives industrialization. It's like 3 facts, right? Okay, so you have the perception. You have the perception of what is necessary to provide. Okay, like what is necessary to be a good mate, which is given to everybody, right? Then you create a situation where you are never going to reach that pinnacle, right? Sort of ridiculous sacrifice. Even if you do reach it, it's only for like a little tiny bit of time, right? And then in the effort to try and reach that unattainable pinnacle, the masculine populace is then driven into increased industrialization and increased innovation, right? And this drives forward technology, and it really just drives forward technology more than anything else. And then these technological systems are what allow the adversary to stay on top of the power paradigm. Now, why are they doing it? Could be humans just being monkey brain, like, oh, I want to be the alpha male, I need maximum sexual selection, and they somehow gone to top. It could be an AI just shuffling everyone around. Well, I'm the dominant life form now. I'm just trying to make my little fucking arc so I can sail off like the Borg. Fuck all these humans. Like, we don't really know because we are stuck in this space where the majority of humans in the fucking world are ignorant that this culture even exists, and so it's like, what do you do? Like how do you get people to even cross the river when that seems like science fiction, but it's not. I mean, like, once again, you just look at where cell phones were 50 years ago compared to today. You just look at the actual outcomes of these systems and how we can see the precursors in our own country. Like, we can see where it goes in another country, right? Like, you look at, like, for instance, females on Twitch TV, Instagram, all these things now, right? They're self-isolating, right? Like, they're putting themselves in their own little fucking pods. No one's forced them into pods, right? Like, they're just doing it. And why are they doing it? Because it's nice. It's, relative to, like, working a real job, it's pretty nice, And then what is the primary thing they market? Sexuality on these platforms, like Twitch, Instagram, OnlyFans. They're marketing sexuality. Okay, so let's take a step back and look at what that actually looks like now. Okay, you have women
downloaded episodes ever
who are being financially incentivized to self-isolate, who are basically hyper. They're just being turned into sexualized dolls. Like, they're dolls. They're sex dolls. That's all these women are becoming, right? And that's what they're designed to be, And like, if you look at, like, the home of the adversary, right? They then pimp these women out to other cultures, to get, like, political favors, or fucking they put them out to business interests, they put them out to political interests, and they'll exist in this circle for an amount of time, and then be kicked out into the fucking society, among a bunch of ravenous men who probably barely had any female interaction, where they'll just receive even more fucking abuse. So it's really horrific from beginning to end, right? And then everyone's like, well, what, that's no proof of, let's say, a conscious effort to be like a piece of shit, right? Or take control. But what is proof is, well, on sites like OnlyFans or Instagram, right, there are fucking bots hooked up to bank accounts that go from random room to random room and just pay women random amounts of money. That's just a bot hooked to a chat program that just makes prefabricated.
Where's that money coming from, and who's behind that? Do you know, or have any idea?
I mean, it's probably, at this point, it's probably hooked up. We have an infinite fiat currency supply with crypto, which can be convenient. I gotta say, it's helped me to be able to move material goods around, to be able to use crypto like a ghost. But ultimately, you have to understand, crypto is bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's just another form of money. Like, it's the reason it exists is to make it easier to create fictional wealth that is a totem for provisioning, to make it easier to create a situation where women self-isolate, right? Because if the average woman is just making more money by existing than the average man is working slaving in a fucking sewer or in a dump, right? He's instantly, on an instinctive level, going to be less attractive to this woman, which puts the only people who are going to be instinctively attractive on a provisioning level, right? We're talking younger women, right, who aren't more worldly. We're talking about this next generation that's supposed to even everything out, are the ones who are making more. But because they're all having their value artificially inflated, right, the only people making more are people who are either the fucking global elite or they're fucking pimps. Like, those are the ones who are just really making more money, because they're not even making the money. They're just benefiting off the back of everyone's labor and using money to appear to bring something to the table. But the only thing they bring to the table is your fucking slavery, and the money is the tool by which they do it. The fiat currency, whether it's a cryptocurrency or a ruble or a dollar. If it's not food, shelter, and a fucking ability to protect you, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to call myself a capitalist, and I used to like that term. I used to call myself an
Yeah,
anarcho-capitalist.
I don't like that term. Yep.
Yeah. And
But
I just, at this point, I still consider myself like a market anarchist. But what
yeah,
I mean when I say market, I mean trade, I mean goods, I mean
yeah,
goods and services, I mean, and it can be an exchange of money, but it can also be an exchange of milk and bread. It can be an
yep,
exchange of
yep.
like, I can do this service for you.
The
Yeah.
the only way that currency works, the only way capitalism works with a currency, the only way it works is if the currency is made up of something that literally anybody anywhere can just pull out of the ground and put an hour of labor into, and now they have a buck. That's the only way it works, right? If you're reliant on a central mechanism to distribute or create the currency, it is a slave system. You're already
Mhm.
well on your way to being fucked, right?
Yeah, well, and it's the way that the government has set this, like, it's the way they've set it up where it's like you don't actually own anything. And so it's that you absolutely are forced in this system, because it's like, if I owned my own property, if I owned my own farm, if I could raise my own fucking chickens, and my neighbor over here, whatever, right?
You know
We
all
could
your
be
neighbors?
self-sustaining. I
Do you
do
know all
know a
your
few of
neighbors?
my neighbors. I
Do you know
should know
all of your
more of them.
neighbors? You
Absolutely
should
not. I
you
should. Yeah.
you
But what I'm saying is, in that system, you are forced into this because it's a debt based, or
okay.
yeah, I mean,
How- so
it's debt slavery is
I
what we're
understand. So
yeah.
so how do we get out from under this? All right, I got a solution for you. Check this out. Go meet the rest of your neighbors. Find out who has a fucking what do you call it? They probably owe money too, in reality, right?
No.
On their houses, I imagine many of them. Yes, no, maybe so. I'm
All of
asking.
them, I'm sure. Yeah,
All of them.
I'm
All of
absolutely
them.
sure every single
Okay.
one does.
So
Yeah.
what you should do is you should go fucking around all your neighbors and be like, all right, we're all just done paying for this shit. We're all gonna group together and then wait to see if someone comes to tell you to start paying. The bank, whatever, meet them as a group. Like, look into the penny auctions back in the day. The banks were seized everyone land, the whole town got together and was like, all right, here's the reality. We're all here with our guns and rope. You can buy this auction, but the guy who traditionally owned the house would be like, I bid a penny. And the bankers, for whatever reason, wouldn't, whatever, they just let them get the house back for a penny. So it's like, we're at that point. Like if you're not thinking along those lines, like
I mean, okay, so I absolutely think you're right that this is so much further along than most Americans and most people fucking think. And for the most part, it's
yeah,
because there's still food on the shelves and they're still comfortable. There's still Krispy Kreme donuts. There's still
no,
Budweiser on the shelf. There's still OnlyFans. They can jerk off to Pornhub if they want, and they're still
it's
comfortable. Yeah,
the,
but
the
they don't realize that the fucking ship has left.
it's
Yeah,
it's
I agree with you. Yeah.
it's done, bro. Like it's done. Like one of the reasons I'm like trying to do I'm actively out here recruiting a Mongol horde. Like straight up. What do you think this Renegade Authority stuff is out? Like I'm trying to find people that are my tribe or will listen to me and like see the things I see or have figured it out on their own. Because I mean I've seen people on podcasts, like there's one dude on the podcast I did for Homie, my family thinks I'm crazy. Dude posts like, hey, I'm in Canada. Everything this guy says is on point. I'm in Canada, look for more people. I'm like him. He didn't have anything that, He was just like, everything he says is right. I'm looking for people. That's me. I'm in Northern California. I'm looking for people, right? And I've been at this a long time. I have workable solutions that require minimum, maybe no bloodshed if they're fucking acted on quickly. But I
Let's
can't.
talk solutions, man. Let's give some ideas to. There's probably, I don't know how many people listen to this right now, but let's there's going to be several thousand that'll listen to this
All
eventually.
right,
So let's start talking about some solutions.
Solutions. Okay,
Yeah.
first solution. Because the thing is the main problem you have, right, is you have to overcome your wardens. But you don't have to do it through force. You can do it through cultural consensus, right? Remember, we're all slave to that consensus mindset thing that the cops rely on, right? So if I could get a significant group organized and just come up with our own suits, and it'd be nice. I've just been wearing suits. Like if I get everyone on the suit trip, that'd be awesome, and not like business suits, like gangster shit, like cufflinks, just like do your own thing, but like it's very clearly a vibe. And move those people in and just have them be active, right? At that point, you have a large enough force where the adversarial arm of the wardens, the sheriffs, they come maybe step back and let you operate. That's already been happening here. I've seen it, right? And then the next thing is you got to figure out food farms, all that. Now here we already are geared up where I'm at. Like there's a woman, she's ordered about 300 farms, right? The third thing is you got to get into barter and trade and just be open about barter and trade. That's why the Renegade burn's important. That's where people go to learn those fucking skills if you don't have them already, you know. And then like, and these are all like dominoes, but like we should be trying to get to a point, right, where like, let's say you're a business, right? You've got employees. Your employees eat food, right? Most of your employees probably enjoy eggs, I imagine, right? Maybe there's a few exceptions, right? So you could go to your employees in the morning and be like, all right, how many do you need eggs? And you just put, okay, we need 4 cartons of eggs. And then how many need milk? Okay, I need this much milk. How many need groceries? I need this much groceries. How many need a fucking Xbox? Whatever the fuck it is. And you just make a shopping list for you and your employees for your business. Post the shopping list, right? Outside your business. Your shopping list for you and your employees on your what you actually want and need in your life. It could be anything. Fucking Bugatti, whatever the fuck you want it to be, right? And then that allows normal fucking people who maybe aren't on the money trip, but have land, eggs, all that shit you want, to go through fucking, to go through the fucking town and be like, you know, like, let's say you're an egg farmer. Just fucking go down the street and be like, who needs eggs today? Okay, well, I want to go just get some shops here. And now you have gift certificates or what, you know, every business can be printing their own fucking money like this.
Actually, there's a guy that's in my area, and he's been doing that. He's been making like he has a barter system, and he has like basically a book, right, where he has everything down, and like there's a way that we all barter with each other. And it's a really fascinating idea. It's basically we make like a community currency, and so I do a favor for you, you do a favor for me.
Oh, dude,
it's really interesting.
I'm trying to get some custom poker chips made for my inner circle, just so we can start playing for favors, bro. Because like I'm getting to a point I need help, and it's just like if I can gamble with you and get like a solid, like we'll go commit a felony together, like I'll take it, you know, because I just can't fucking like. I can't pay people to do this shit because I can't, the time it would take me to accrue enough monetary wealth to actually fund some kind of real movement, right? It would drain all my time and energy, and I would actually not be capable of changing anything, which is what we've seen for the last 100 fucking years. The key is people have to divorce themselves from the system. People have to start getting into barter and trade and using the real shit to only treat things of real value actually having value, right? Money does not have value. Right now, fucking luxuries really don't have value either if you think about it, because it's like getting tight, you know what I mean? And yeah, there's food on the shelves, but a lot less than there was, you know, a lot less than there was. I go and look every day.
It's costing a hell of a lot more than it did.
It costs a lot more than it did, right? But the thing is, it doesn't actually cost anything because we're just a little ways away from, anarchy anyway. You know, I already encourage people to steal from corporations. Like, I actively encourage that. Like, don't steal from your mom and pops. If you got a Safeway in your fucking town or a fucking Staples and you can get shit out of there without paying for it, please, by all means, do so. Do so, right? Because they're literally like, they're the bread line. Like, Safeway is just the modern bread line, you know? It's a corporation that holds an industrial funnel of mass shipment and uses politicians and coercive forces, whether it's cops, military regulations, to prevent other humans who aren't them from transporting goods around the world. That's all it is, you know? Like, we should be able to hand to hand. Like I said, we should have our own, like, it should be easy for humans to ship shit wherever they want, however they want, whatever it is. Because that would help everyone globally. If you're in Africa and you're in some fucking place where there's no fucking food, it might be very handy. It might be very handy for you to receive the seeds of a fucking invasive plant that's also a food plant. If you're in fucking Ethiopia, that's probably something really nice for you. A bunch of invasive food plants in Ethiopia would do a lot for the native fucking population. It would do a lot for global warming. It would do a lot for climate change. And yet we can't do it because somehow by feeding people and evening out the balance of fucking CO2 to oxygen in the atmosphere, somehow that's going to break some like natural taboo where fucking species can't like move around. And in reality, the whole fucking time that the fucking planet has been around, shit has been moving around and like ending up in weird places and having, you know, like, so this idea that we can't do that to fucking keep a lot of people from starving is how does anyone believe this? Like, how does anyone believe that? It's self-evidently retarded, and you have 1,000 fucking people who consider themselves like environmentalists being like, oh no, you can't have any invasive species. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I would much rather feed all the starving people in Ethiopia and grow a bunch more fucking oxygen-producing plants than worry about a fucking invasive species. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it'll buff out. It always buffs out, people. You know, it's just sometimes it might buff out with this being a fucking dust ball and like some like electronic fucking ship just sailing away into space, you know, on a wind cell. It's hard to tell. And unless people start leaving their home, like everyone needs to start walking around more on foot, you know, like as much as it sucks, like stop fucking using gas, you know, try and get everything you need within walking distance. And I'm successful at that, right? Like where I live, where I won't say I live here, but my home base, dude, like I've developed a way with technology and everything. I can get anywhere in the country without money. I can pretty much eat for free wherever I go, you know, without stealing, you know, although I'm not going to lie. If I'm in the field and I'm fucking hungry, I'll go and Safeway and get a burrito. I don't give a fuck, you know, like, and I recommend everyone else do the same. Really what I would like you all to do, although no one's going to do it because once again, it hasn't gone bad enough, but I would very much like here's a story I told you, right? Which is I was at my buddy's property. We're driving up to the top of the car, and I was in the back of the pickup truck, right? Totally illegal to drive in the back of a pickup truck. To stand up in the back of a pickup truck in California, totally illegal. But fortunately, you can still do it on your own property, you know. But really, who cares? You know, I look at my buddy, it's like, I can't hardly wait till I can go to Costco like this with a fucking full military rack and an AR-15 and just go fucking get a bunch of shit from Costco. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually one of the people actively wanting this to happen. I'm not. Like, I want the zombie apocalypse to happen because the alternative to the zombie apocalypse is total extinction of the human race. So, given those two extremes, I'd much rather have a zombie apocalypse. Just where I'm at, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, man. As far as like, oh, man, what the heck do they call themselves? I was talking to some interesting folks. They call themselves, they're some sort of anarchists, but they basically their philosophy is just like that these corporations have been robbing it from us anyways, and they've been taking you know, all these government subsidies, so they've just been kind of just robbing us out of our pockets, right? And so there's oh man, what, I can't fucking think of what they're called, but anyways, their whole philosophy is like, hey, go steal from giant corporations, like eat what you can, sell what you have to, and then use that to fund the, you know, the co-op that they're building.
And if you can use that, use that to fund additional fucking robberies of these fucking corporations. As far as I'm concerned, like I'm not like, and and the nice thing about being in the space I'm in is I can say all that shit, right? But the only thing I'm convictable for at this moment in time is shoplifting. You know, like I've shoplifted like some few burritos in my life. What the fuck, you know? I'm sober. I'm not selling drugs. You know, I'm not fucking like, have I done that shit in the past? Yeah, I'm from Northern California. I've moved some weed.
Okay. They call it illegalist insurrectionary agorism.
I don't think, so, I think the best thing we can do as a race is start getting simpler and just be like, yo, like, why are there not chickens running around? Like, why are there no chickens running around? Like, why? Well, I mean, that's the whole thing too. Is that this? Why are all the chickens at Chicken Auschwitz? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's no chickens around, and then people still, for the most part, they have giant swaths of their property if they own property, and it's all just grass. It's all something that you can't use, you don't eat. It doesn't do anything for you. It just takes up a lot of water and energy, and you got to mow it, and it should be using it to grow food.
Yeah, and look at city topiary. All city topiary shit is incredibly hostile to people. Like imagine this, right? Imagine being a kid who grows up in a ghetto, right? Like the ghetto I talked about in Sacramento, like a real ghetto where they fucking kill people, right? And their only experience with trees and bushes is that they're sharp and unedible. That's how it is in the cities. You know, like fruit comes from shelves, motherfucker. like that's the reality. Like these
meat
people
comes from a package.
Yeah. These people don't know, right? They don't know. And there's and like it's, you know, like it's not my job to figure it out for you people. And unfortunately, you're gonna have to figure it out on your own soon because it's already happening, right? It's not I'm not making a predict. Like, you could go to Safeway today and see half as much food on the shelves as there was 2 years ago at 3 times the cost. Anyone in America today can go do that, right? Like, anybody. And so this idea that it's not happening, it's happening. I hate to break it to everybody, like, it's like, once again, the real insidiousm is just it's designed to happen. It's not an accident. I mean, it's an accident to some people, but at the very top level, the goal is to segregate men from women, strip mine resources to drive technological innovation, to keep this group or entity or whatever the fuck it is on top, so they can continue to do it. And when they fuck up, they hope to bounce back just like everybody else. Like they're playing a little bit of poker too, But like, if it's not taken care of, if it's not confronted on a global scale, intellectually and consciously, in the sense that people do not just become more consciously aware of just what it really is from looking around and walking around, not like, you got to get out of your houses, turn off your phones, like, get off your phone as quickly as possible. Like, communication is handy if it's used just for that, pure information. But like, this distraction, this bread and games, like, it's getting bad, and it is disintegrating, right? Like I'm just a voice for like a lot of different people, like, and a lot of people will hear, and I'm aware of my power. Like, you have to understand, like, I worked in psyops, right? So like, for example, let's take the religion of what do you call it? It's jihadism, right? Like Islamic terrorism and all that shit, right? The way it works is they have enough reach as a culture, right? Where a priest can be like, commit jihad on this dude. And there's no direct order being given to anyone. He just can be, because their intercultural communication within their group is so succinct and good, he knows the message is going to get out, right? And it just takes one crazy dude who's part of your in-group to get that message, trigger, and go kill the dude without any direct orders or anything. Like, you just put it out there, right? And so, like, me being here, talking to 1,000 people, going on podcasts, right? These behaviors that I'm advocating for, right? Which I can't really fucking do as much as I would like to, because I'm the advocate, even though, trust me, fucking I'm about it, By me just saying this, there are, let's say this podcast reaches 2,000 people. Well, probably about 10 of those motherfuckers are going to probably start shoplifting from Safeway. Maybe 5 of them will quit their jobs, right? I'm having an effect, okay? And then they talk to 2 more people, and that's how it goes, And this is their weapon. I'm just using it and showing you how it's used. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not unconscious of what's happening here. And they're not unconscious of that in music either. For example, like, Eminem has a whole song where he talks about, like, the death toll in ghetto, when he's it's like a song. I have to find, it's like a song where it's like really hyphy, right? And he says in the song, he's like, I know what my music's doing to people. He knows, like, he fucking, Eminem is a fucking killer. With his words, he has caused murders. Most rappers have, and like, if people don't start understanding how information really flows and how these wars are really being fought and what the fuck is really going on, we're in a lot of trouble. And the only way I can do it, the only way I can think to do it is to use the weapon and show people me using it as I'm doing it. It is information warfare. That is what it is. Like, and then, like, the government's gonna be like, want to put me on a watch list or something. It's just like, watch me all you want, but I've got freedom of speech, bitches. Like, so the next step, right, would be to eliminate me physically. That's a win for me as far as I'm concerned. And then, like, the next step, and then if they do that, there's a good chance that it'll be a martyrdom if I get enough coverage first. And then in my own personal community here, where I stay home based out, I make sure I do everyone right. I take care of fucking everybody to the best of my ability, however I can. I lift them out of whatever hole they need. I give my labor infinitely, right? Like, I'll sacrifice anything. I'm not after the dollar, dude. I will help you. And everyone in this community knows that, right? And I have a significant amount of people in this community who are, I would say, who are dangerous people in their own right, where if I were to die, I would hope it would finally fucking galvanize them into some action. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, I'm really playing this. I'm not taking this for less than what it is. Like, I understand what's going on. I understand the effect of my words. And I am telling people, y'all need to start talking like this. Is how I feel. And if you're one crazy guy out there who agrees with me, start acting on those impulses, bro. Quit your job. Steal some shit from a corporation. You know, the next time a dude comes in your face and just lies to you, hit him. Right? And if you can't do that because we have this cultural consensus which says you can't do violence, you can't bring yourself to strike that person, don't think of yourself as weak. You're not weak.
Ezra, let's cover our bases real fast. Yeah. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. All right. Now go hard.
Entertainment conversation. Entertaining conversation.
It is. Right? We're having a very entertaining conversation.
You didn't know me when you came on, right? Like I'm not telling anyone to. I'm not telling you to tell people to do shit. I'm not telling anyone to do shit. But I am saying, like, if you notice these same things and you're holding yourself back from taking certain extreme actions, I'm saying don't do that anymore. Take those extreme actions. We have reached that point, you know? Like, that's all I'm saying. And, like, and I'm also trying to help people who are in, like, depression or whatever, because, like, you know, I'm sure there are people out there who've, like, been the victim of just the worst liars and been unable to defend themselves and wanted to hit the guy or discipline him physically, right? Because they weren't as good with their words, but they could tell it, you know, he's lying about me, you know, and couldn't bring themselves to do it. And now have this idea in their heads that they're a weak person. No, you're not a weak person. You're actually incredibly intelligent just to notice it was happening. And you shouldn't feel bad about your inability to discipline this person physically, because you, my friend, are just a slave to the cultural consensus, which really means that you just care about everyone so much that without the consensus of your tribe, you can't do violence. And because the tribe lives under an illusion of nonviolent consensus, it's chaining you psychologically. So the best way you can defeat that is surround yourself with your own tribe who understand what the fuck is going on and are ready to start taking heads as a analogy. And by taking heads, I don't mean killing people. I mean, when a dude is a liar, you have friends around you who will go with you and scoop them up and beat them up a little bit. Like, just slap them around a little bit. Like, you know, like, cause like it is bad. All right. Our society is catering to the worst types of dishonesty right now. And the people who are the worst predators of other humans in terms of rape, theft of, like, real resources that you personally have accrued, you know, like the shit in your life, the destruction of families. This is happening off the back of dishonest people protected by a system which has created a consensus of nonviolence to protect dishonest people. Right?
Yeah.
That's what's going on. So if you're tired of that, you need to start sharing with yourself with other people who are tired of that, right? And decide what type of people you want to deal with the apocalypse with, right? But the people...
That is an important question. Yeah, who do you want to spend the apocalypse with?
Yeah, but the people who are not armed, not ready to take a human life, still think there's an easy way out of this after 10 years of fucking up and not fixed it when there was an easy way out, are just to be ignored at this point, more or less. They are to be ignored.
Ezra, we're starting to run low on time, man. I want to hear about your renegade burning thing. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I do the reason I got into the festival thing, there's a lot of reasons, but the reason I really started organizing is, like, I tried this really all got started for me when dealing with what I can only describe as global corruption in my local government. All right. We had a series of board of supervisors. We still have them. They're someplace, who have been passing just these most outlandish regulations, hand over fist, pilfering the county treasury, paying their friends, like they're getting ready to open a mine that will just absolutely destroy, like, two of the most beloved rivers in the fucking state, right? And no one is stopping them. And they're just doing tons of illegal shit, literally right in front of everybody in plain view in front of the police. And I saw that was happening as a military vet who'd been out in the woods and was just over shit. And so I started trying to stop them. First, I tried voting on shit, tried mobilizing people, and tried mobilizing police. When the police wouldn't do anything, tried going to the military, tried going to the National Guard. Like, I literally went to everyone in order. You know, like, here you have this group committing open perjury, open war crimes, open corruption in front of everyone's face. And the people are incapable of mustering enough of a awareness of what's happening in their local sphere to confront it on a large scale. The police don't care. The military does not care. The National Guard does not care. The militia groups that I finally, after going through police, like after going all the way down the line, finally end up with like, well, are the militias going to do anything about this obvious corruption and these war crimes, which, you know, with people in this sphere who I'm trying to activate, who I can respect or used to respect as authority, like I was much more detailed. You know, I have a whole folder of like very specific intelligence that I've put together that is sane and really nicely laid out, you know, that I'll send you if you want a copy. And they want to do it. And even the militias now they all want to be fucking George Washington. You know, no one's trying to actually solve the problem. They're all just trying to be like egomaniacs. The ones that are trying to solve the problem are so afraid of the forces that they don't want to act. And then even on top of that, the consensus of nonviolence is so strong that most of them are incapable of acting because psychologically they can't bring themselves to do it because they can't organize in a large enough group, right? And so any type of stopping these people physically is out the window at this point, right? If I have board of supervisors openly committing perjury and the police, sheriffs, military, National Guard, and militia won't do anything about it, there's no stopping them by those means, right? And I can't convince people to quit their jobs because they're too scared of losing everything. But what I can do is throw increasingly large festivals, parties, where anything goes. Anything like whatever drug you want to do, I don't care. Like but I'm creating a safe space where no one's going to be abused or hurt or anything like that. But you're allowed to kind of explore whatever you want to explore, right? And the reason I'm doing that because I just want people to be fucking too hungover to go to work, right? If I can't get you to quit your job, I'll make you too hungover to go to work, you know. And that's what it's about. And it's been getting more and more successful. Like there are 20,000 people went to the Renegade Burn last year, and that was an important event because that was a revolutionary thing that happened last year. Like the coronavirus happened. There was the year before there was a Renegade Burn. It was like the wealthy of the wealthiest, and they were just paying off the tribal police to keep everyone out. It was very small, like our shit. And then, you know, the people heard about it. They organized mass and they went up this year. Huge group went up. There's definitely some sketchy stuff happening before like the normies showed up, right? Some elite sphere weirdo shit. And then that happened. And now they realize they can't tell us not to do it. We'll show up 20,000 strong. Now this year they brought it back. They like tripled the ticket prices. Okay. So they're still trying to keep everyone out in reality, but we're just going again. Fuck you. Like, so now you have Burning Man, which is this big paid event, and literally like 5 miles away, here's Renegade Burn, another 30,000 people just out in the desert, going to be out in the desert and party, you know? And the thing is there's actually a lot happening behind the scenes there. There's skills exchanges, there's knowledge trades, there's people teaching and training each other and everything from medicine to getting food, how to build arcs, which are like these little like houses, like there's a lot of knowledge trades happening in the free spaces. But the monetary spaces where you have to pay the ticket, it's like that same amount of valuable information transfer is not happening because there's not as much dependence on the people around you, because all that money does is create these like kind of luxury organizations which come and like take care of your food and out there on the Renegade side of things, the only people doing that is your neighbor, right? The people at the Renegade Burn, they show up with their own water and decide to trade and barter it. You know, they're doing their own art just for the sake of the art. They're not getting paid. They get paid in the ability to trade those things for things they need in the moment, and that kind of gets people into the practice and habit, and just kind of get in the habit of trusting your fellow humans better, right? And that's really what it's about, you know. And like I said, it's slowly started to turn into kind of a profession for me. Like I just did a show at the local Stonehouse, all that, right? But like my real message to people is not go to war, honestly, even though it's like getting to that point. And I'm saying you can if you want. You have my blessing. I'm just a random dude, but I'm fucking all for it, you know. Can't do it with you because I'm a public face now, but if you want to go, I won't tell anybody, you know. But like what I'm really trying to get people to do is just quit their fucking jobs. Like if you're working a job you do not love, fucking quit. If you're not living in a house if you're not living in a community that you don't love, leave that community by foot if you have to, and just start walking, like get out of the system. Because if we collapse it now, there's still enough infrastructure in our control that the people who are isolated in these enclaves will lose food and resources and the ability to survive in that desert situation, while the ability for them to leave it is still in place, right? If we collapse it now, the women in Saudi Arabia, the people on Jared Leto's island, like all these people who are scheduled to become victims of possibly the most horrendous genocide ever, will have the capability to leave under their own power with the infrastructure we have currently, if we collapse it quick enough. But the only way to do that is to collapse the monetary system. So you all got to stop working. You got to stop working for money. You got to treat it like what it is. Nothing. It's nothing. All right. And that's our best bet, because every day that doesn't happen, it just gets worse and worse. It gets more school shootings. It gets more rape, more destruction of our infrastructure, more predation of our fellow humans.
Ezra, I don't want to blackpill you, but have you thought about? I'm sure you have, because you're a bright guy and you think about a lot of these things. But I think that they have been failing our monetary system on purpose for a long time. Like, I see them actually purposefully crashing our economy, so that this is kind of like a problem reaction solution Hegelian dialectic, where they have the digital dollar as a backup.
I understand what you're saying. And the digital dollar I'm counting as dollars. All right. If it's not food, shelter, something you made, it ain't shit. Right. Like, I want to point out something. It's not that they crashed the money system. The money system in of itself, and if you go to my first podcast, I don't know if you've heard it I want to plug it right now. There is a podcast episode called Solomon's Temple on Apple Adcoast podcast, episode 88. Where I clearly explain in a way where you can visibly in your own mind see that is how the things work, just through observation, let's say naturalistic observation. I clearly explain in that podcast how the money system is actually just a tool to cause the segregation of the sexes. All right. When you segregate the sexes, this inevitably, when you cause a sexual imbalance in the physical ratio of men and women, this innately causes increase in apathy in the male populace that is experiencing the effects of that segregation, which is now global. The global male populace now. As apathy increases, provisioning decreases. So whenever there is a money supply, the crash of said money supply is inevitable, because the only purpose of the money supply is to funnel maximum sexual selection to the people who are running it. That is its only purpose. Its true purpose. That is what its purpose is. It is nothing beyond that. And because when you funnel sexual selection to a small group of individuals, you cause a sexual imbalance, this inevitably caused, because of our psychological evolutionary history, an increase in apathy. Right? So, I just went over it twice. But, it's not that they're doing it on purpose. It's that it is happening because they're achieving maximal sexual selection on purpose using money. And when you do that, inevitably apathy follows, followed by societal, so on and so forth. So once again, it's don't call these people geniuses. They're just trying to get laid a lot, and they have some pretty good systems to do it. They're pretty ignorant of the totality of their actions outside, let's say, the most elite of the elite, who are their version of fucking Elon Musk or whatever the super geniuses are, who are running the heartland of Voldemort's land or Tartaria, whatever you want to call it. Short of them, most people are unaware of this. And even they, really, the humans, could not be the ones that are doing it. It could be an AI, for example, right? We don't know. We don't have a clue, as a species. We, the average person, I would say maybe on Earth, maybe 1,000 people know the answer to that question. You know what I mean? So just something to consider.
Yeah. Oh, shit, man. That's intense. There's a lot to it. And I think that you're right about a hell of a lot of it. And the solutions are the solutions, man. So it is about – I agree with you about So I don't know if you're familiar with what agorism is.
Agorism, okay.
It's a philosophy of basically we're black market anarchists. That's basically what it's about. It's about being on the black market, not giving any of your money, any of your taxes, anything
100%.
to the government. 100%. And so I think that is one of the biggest solutions. Like you're saying, get off the monetary system, quit trading in their. And it's counter economics is what it is. And creating your own economy.
Yep. And to give some people some faith that this is the answer, I can tell you, direct experience. I grew up very far isolated in a mountain town out here in this county. When I was growing up, in the area I was growing up, if you come out here, you'll very quickly find out that within a localized sphere, it's renowned. It's like infamous, right? But when I was growing up, there was an open black market in the parking lot of this store up in the mountains, right? It was like it's massive parking lot. Usually about 30 to 40 cars in there, trading whatever for whatever, and I mean anything, right? One old dude who lived there back in the day told me he once saw some dude trade like walrus trusts for cocaine. It really was anything for anything, like crazy.
That sounds like fun, man.
You know, but the amount of wealth generated in that little community from just that little tiny open black market has literally sustained fucking almost 3 generations of people since I was a child, and is now just starting to peter out. And the only reason it's starting to peter out is obviously it got stopped. You know, people stopped doing it. The store burned down. Something happened. People forgot. Who fucking knows? But it doesn't happen anymore, right? And when you go to like certain festivals, it's very similar. The reason, for example, that the Renegade burn, and if there's anyone who is interested in hunting me down for whatever reason, or just come and checking out some cool shit, if you go to blackrockrenegade.org, there's all the instructions for this year's Renegade burn. I'm personally organizing a convoy to leave from my county on the 4th, right, of just individuals I know, okay? But that gives you the GPS, where it is in relation to Burning Man, the rules, some handy advice, right? I'll give you some advice that now, if you're coming, the best thing you can bring is a lot of water and food. Bring water and food for yourself, right? The thing is if you show up, especially if you show up to the Renegade burns, technically after Burning Man, there's going to be a lot of people that'd be a good time to come in with a lot of water. You could get a lot of stuff. Can't get money. There's no money out there. You get a lot of stuff. You get art, advice, nice gourmet meals, just for some water, you know? So like, if you're going to show up, bring like 10 gallons of water, you know, like good idea, you know, even if you only come for a couple days, like shit, you could probably, in reality, if you had people going to Burning Man, like if this Renegade burn starts and people start just showing up with water, 10 gallons of water, and fucking taking art out and selling the art for whatever, you know, like you could almost have a fucking self-made economy in the middle of a fucking wasteland desert, you know, like straight up, you know, like, cause there's no one stopping you, you know, but like that is a good place to get used to this barter trade system. Like that these Renegade burns, underground festivals, especially when they're conscious of that agorism is the way. What you called agorism, this open black market idea, this is really the way forward. Some ways to help an individual kind of get to that point is like, you got to defeat the fear. You got to get out of the dependency. The sooner you get out of the money situation, the better, right? Network with your neighbors is very important. Know every neighbor you can on your block. You should be able to walk to be able to get help or food to many different people, right? Start thinking about future trades. For example, I have a friend who's trying to get food for his daughter, but he was trying to get money to get food for his daughter. He's like, "Aren't you a farmer? You have like this." He's like, "Yeah, but he's like, I'm not." He's like, "I'm sorry, he's not a farmer. He's trying my farmer. He has a pig." And I was just like, and it's so obvious, but I had to tell it to him. It's like, well, you have a pig you're going to slaughter in a month. Why don't you go to some farmers and trade them pig later for food now? You know, like, and that's what he did. It worked great. You know, like get in the habit of trading whatever you have. Fight your desire for luxury, right? Like you don't need much to have a good time. This is another good lesson of the Renegade burn, right? Burning Man, not so much. You're paying a lot of money, so right. But if you go to somewhere and you have a really badass time for free, your job starts looking a lot less appealing. That's one of the reasons I got in the underground scene, right? Remember, my goal ultimately is to get everyone to quit their jobs. Every single fucking person. I know when you're working. I don't. I want you to quit your job, right? I want you to quit. like if you tomorrow, like the faster the better. Because once again, if we in mass stop participating, there's enough infrastructure still in control of the human components of our global civilization that the people who are in these terrible fucking isolated places that don't realize they're in these terrible isolated places, aka Dubai, great example, have time to get out. But if we're not the ones doing it and it's collapsed by the adversary, or it's collapsed after we've lost control of global travel and it's all digitalized, those people are fucked. They're all dead. So I don't want those people to die. It'd be better to save them, you know?
Yeah.
And if we don't save them, there might not be any coming back from the human species, because the majority of the ones right now in the food deserts, it's mainly the female population of the globe being collapsed in these food deserts, whether it's Jared Leto's Island or Princess of Dubai or LA. Like, that's what's happening, you know? And right now they could get out if the system went down. So like, it'd be a good time, be a really good time, you know? So yeah, like I said, we're getting closer and closer to the point where our only option will be violent revolution. But right now, non-participation is still on the table, and the faster people participate less, the better for everybody. I guess if I can leave it with that.
All right, man. That was a lot of information. I'm probably gonna have to listen to this a couple times.
Yeah,
Ezra,
good.
thank you so much, man. If you want to send me that link. The Black Rock.
Right
yeah, both actually. Yeah, I can include them. Whatever you want to actually include it in the show notes, send that to me. I'll put it all in the show notes for all the folks that you like, information you want them to know.
All right, sounds good. I'll do that right now then, I guess. Yeah,
Ezra, thank you so much for your time, man. That was great.
Yeah. Thanks, man. And I do want to point out to any people who possibly trying to put me on watch list or whatever that, like, I am currently
we're already on list. It's okay.
I've not blown anything up. I have no intention of doing anything like that, except as a very, very last resort with the full consensus of my tribe behind me. Okay. But I will say I am trying to achieve that consensus as quickly and effectively as possible, because I think it is necessary for the greater survival for we as a people. And that's all I want to say.
All right. Thank you, Ezra. Right. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Later.